Not really sure where Mama Joyce is getting her information from, but it looks like she's back in the streets doing hood reporting again.
Who would have thunk that Pheadra Parks, who left the Real Housewives of Atlanta through the back door after season 9 in 2017, would be the girl the producers picked to return and save the show from its casting crisis? Faye on Monday confirmed the news that she's indeed coming back to bite the peach through a post shared on Instagram. She wrote, "You called and I answered," and in a smooth video straight after that, she said, "I'm feeling peachy today." Okay, period. It's such a big flex because she will be appearing as part of the lead cast on both Married to Medicine and The Real Housewives of Atlanta. There's been questions here, but what do the think pieces even achieve at this point? Phaedra's return to The Real Housewives of Atlanta is big news as it comes just weeks after KenyaMoore's debacle with allegations of revenge that reportedly led to her being indefinitely suspended. It also comes in the first season without Kandi since they both made their debut on season 2 back in 2009. Now, we know that Kandi's ultimatum on the table has always been that if Phaedra comes back, she would walk. And now that she's made the decision to part ways with the show after 14 years, all thanks to production taking too long to finalize an offer during the cast shakeup era.
Is it time? I've been going back and forth, and I think because they gave us such a long break, I had a lot of time to do other things, and I got some big announcements to make coming soon.
The coast is finally perfectly clear for the Southern Belle to make a return and resume her iconic confessionals and swift shape. This also marks the return of Frack, whose on-screen dynamic was one hell of a time during the height of Phaedra and Portia's friendship on the show.
Freaking fraud!
And recently, Portia had shared a video urging RHOA viewers to write letters, make phone calls, and do whatever it takes to ask Bravo to bring Phaedra back on board. And even though their friendship was tested to its limits back when they got mixed up in a bizarre lie about Kandi and Todd back then, all seems to be well between the pair. Now, The Real Housewives of Atlanta is currently filming its 16th season, and Phaedra's return is likely to start impacting footage after several episodes in 2025. Which, by the way, will mark a stunning victory for Phaedra because she's part of her lead cast now on both Married to Medicine and The Real Housewives of Atlanta. If it looked like she had lost a career in reality TV back in 2017, it now looks like she's becoming Bravo's it girl. 2 top shows on the network, 2 reunions, and a whole lot of publicity to promote the chaotic return of RHOA to the screens next year. Now, let's talk about the optics. For one, Phaedra arriving right after Kandi's departure raises some eyebrows and pretty much closes the door on Kandi ever returning to the show. I know Miss Worldwide will want no parts of it. We've talked about Kandi's ultimatum, but Phaedra has always been adamant that her potential to return was never dependent on Kandi's green light.
I never think anything's based on a certain person. I think the door's always been somewhat open. But I want to do what's best for me and my family. And so, it's got to be the right opportunity and it's got to be with the right castmates.
Even though Kandi has a good relationship with the network,
And Bravo is my family. I love them as well.
and we know this because the budget allocation for spin-offs is always almost all hers, Faye never for 1 second thought she had enough of a pull to influence and continued icing out on the show. Earlier this year, the glamorous Mortician talked about the excitement about potentially re-enacting the freaking Frack dynamic with Portia. She also remained coy about a potential comeback on the show, teasing fans just enough to up their hopes without giving anything away.
I love Portia and, we've been talking. And, hopefully we can work something out. But, Portia's my girl, so I'm really excited for her.
But I personally think negotiations had probably started way long before because right around the time Faye was on a press tour for appearance on Traitors, she already started talking about the rife speculation about a potential return to the show. And yes, the questions kept coming up in every interview ever since she left the show, but this was specifically around the cast shakeup that was underway after the announcement of Kandi's exit, as well as the firing of Marlo, Sheree, and Tanya. Talking to Time magazine in an interview published on February 9th this year, Phaedra said, "People ask me about that all the time." And I'm pretty sure they definitely did because whatever you think of Phaedra's character after the season 9 disaster, we've had so many iconic moments with her on the show. She may have not been around for the first season, but she sealed her place as one of the more iconic OGs in Bravo's golden era. And then she said, "I was on there for 8 years. However, it was during the heyday when it was the best of the franchise, and then I left and it turned into the Titanic and it sunk."
Is that shade, Phaedra?
But now it looks like there will be a reboot, and I'm very excited because I want to see it become what it was. The cast I was with was the best on the network, so I would love to see a return to its glory. I would never say never, but if I could help them get back to being the #1 franchise, I would love to see them get back on top. See, this is exactly what the network hopes to achieve with Phaedra's return on the show. They've been plagued with so much negative publicity in the middle of a chaotic casting process, and more familiar faces to anchor the show can only be a good thing. And now that Phaedra is back in the mix, her return couldn't be more timely. They already have their freaking Frack dynamic going, and plus, 50 Cent is still on there as friends of the cast. It's now 3 names from RHOA's heyday, which could potentially inspire some kind of level of hope for this coming season. There are some questions, of course, however. One being whether the announcement of Phaedra's return would be enough to get people to pay attention and tune in when the show launches its next season. After Kenya's controversial departure in the middle of filming, it wasn't looking too good for the girls. Does Phaedra have enough star power to pull the people back in? Because if you've seen the latest season of Married to Medicine, she's kept much of her life under wraps and has taken it very easy. And we are thinking that in order for RHOA to at least not plunge all the way to hell in the next season, we are going to need the cast to clock all the way in. There's also the thing about Kenya being out because of their alleged revenge. Nah, that whole story has had so many twists and turns, most recently with Bravo reportedly denying the allegations of revenge and that she was never fired. But it still doesn't explain the indefinite suspension and how they stood on business despite all the backlash around that. So the question becomes, how do you justify firing Kenya for that alleged thing while bringing back Phaedra, whose own explosive exit was because of an escalated, unethical spreading of false narrative about Kandi having Portia? And now that person becomes a castmate to replace KenyaMoore, whom you are allegedly saying has broken your rules. Comment down below, like and share this video, and subscribe to the channel. Welcome back to the Quench channel, and welcome back to the Peach Adventures over at Bravo. Phaedra joins her freaking Frack sister Portia alongside Cynthia, Shamia, Drew, Kelly, and Brittany as the main cast of the Real Housewives of Atlanta season 16. Obviously aimed at creating interest in the show's upcoming season, especially after attempts at a shake-up have not gone as well as hoped. Kandi left the show after 14 years following delays in the arrival of contracts, and that seems to have opened the path for Phaedra to return to the show. She will continue to appear on both Married to Medicine and the Real Housewives of Atlanta. We have to make sure that there are no scheduling conflicts as far as filming is concerned. The confirmation also comes just days after reports surfaced that Apollo, Phaedra's ex-husband, was charged with family violence battery over an alleged altercation with his wife, Shireen Copes. Now, this story was reported by In Touch Weekly, and according to legal documents obtained on Thursday by Page 6, the incident is reported to have gone down back in March of this year, when the couple reportedly got involved in a physical altercation. Now, Apollo was reportedly placed into custody and charged with 1 misdemeanor of domestic violence and simple assault. Although, in all fairness, this should have nothing to do with Phaedra, the timing of it all is just awful, especially where the conversation is at in terms of crime in these reality shows and what they are willing to overlook for the ratings. Bearing in mind that Apollo has had some pretty questionable moments with the show, which have gone on to air. Makes one wonder why Kenya or Nini were the final straws. That said, I'm quite excited for Phaedra's return. Are you? Leave a comment down below, like and share this video, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching until the end. Until next time, bye.